An error occurred. Wait a moment and then try again.
Boo.
I believe in you.
But do you believe in StreamYard?
No.
The hell, man. Oh, it's telling me it's live.
I'll go check. I'll pop over
Hello,
to
internet, maybe?
No, it says it on YouTube. Hi, chat. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Tell me if you can.
Okay. I'm logging onto YouTube.
Yeah, they're saying it's good.
I'm there, and it says we're live. Yeah,
we're good to
Amazing.
go. Okay, all good. Hi, everybody. Well, we're having all sorts of technical fun tonight. I apologize for being so late. I got stuck in the car, and then I just hit go live, and it said there was an error, and then it went live anyway. So here we are. It's still saying we're not live. So I don't know how I'm going to end this stream because it's still saying we're not live. But we
should be able to end it on your YouTube console.
Very clearly, I don't know how to use that. I only know how to do StreamYard. So we're gonna.
I think we just had to be live forever now. I think that's just our life.
To be live forever.
That's our
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
It's everybody. It's just that kind of night. But you know what? We're gonna make it work. It's fine. I will figure out how to end this on YouTube at some point when we get there. It's fine. We'll do it.
You can just make me an admin on your channel. I'm very trustworthy.
Oh man. So anyway, folks, so we are here tonight, an hour and change late because I got stuck in traffic after a big storm, and so nobody was moving, and but we made it. And I've got a great panel here tonight, and we are going to fix young Earth creationism. That is right. Our task tonight is to take bad young Earth creationist arguments and fix them. We are going to tell the young Earth creationists the arguments they should be making. Now, before we do that, let me just briefly introduce my panel. And this is something I always do at the end, is give everybody a chance to make a little sales pitch, tell everyone what you're doing. We're going to do that at the front end so no one leaves before we do that. So first, right next to me here, I am so excited to have, for the first time, as Dr. Maddie, we have Dr. Maddie Science Side up, recently promoted Dr. Maddie. So Maddie, congratulations on your defense. Tell us what you're up to, what you have coming down the pike, and just what you do in general.
And what kind of snake you had to fight.
And what kind of snake you had to fight?
Of course, what kind of snake I had to fight. Well, I'm out here in Oklahoma, so naturally it was a cottonmouth. Yeah. So channel-wise, trying to kind of figure out new content. Most of you guys know I took a break because of baby and then finishing my dissertation and trying to kind of get back into the swing of things, but I just started my new postdoc and that's all very exciting. So I'm studying boundary layer meteorology and getting to do some really fun fluid dynamic stuff. And so I hope I can share that with people on my channel soon. So channel wise, I honestly don't know right now, but I am happy to be here. And so probably the next time I can guarantee you'll see my face on the internet is the third Tuesday of July when I'll be doing Matt with Maddie over on Dapper Dino's channel.
Excellent.
Nice.
It's a good show, everybody.
It's a great show.
It's fun, and also it makes my brain hurt.
No.
It's hard to comprehend just how stupid either of the Matts are. It's really
bad.
On the last, guys, we've been doing Raw Matt, and he confused Orthodox Judaism with the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, he was going
very
on about
common mistake.
The Eastern Orthodox Church just doesn't have enough to do with the New Testament or Jesus. And it's like, when was the last time this guy went to a divine liturgy in the Eastern Orthodox Church? Because I've got news for him.
All right. Well, Dapper, tell us who you are, what you're up to, what you have coming down the pike.
I'm Dapper Dinosaur. Okay, let's see. Tomorrow, I've got a premiere at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be about Pam Acker, a Catholic young Earth creationist, which is a bit of a rare breed. You don't get a lot of those. Then on Friday, I have a show with Jackson Wheat. It'll be Jackson with Jackson, just like Matt with Maddie, except it'll be Jackson, was it Charles Jackson? Yep. Young Earth creationist extraordinaire. The man who has just naturally low resolution. He's naturally low resolution in the same way that Bigfoot is naturally out of focus, right? Like, you can't actually focus on Bigfoot. That's why none of the pictures of him are in focus. You can't actually take a high resolution picture of Charles Jackson. It just doesn't work. So that is why that episode is called Naturally Low Resolution. And I made sure to make the thumbnail as low resolution as I could and save it with a 94% compression on the JPEG file to just make it as disgusting as possible.
Crunchy.
Yeah. Then on Saturday, I should be doing Dapper Reacts. I believe I will be joined by Chesh and perhaps one other guest. Then on Tuesday, it'll be Kent with Bent, where I will be squeezing myself into a stupid human suit and then putting a tutu on top of that to appear on camera in my stupid human itchy suit that I hate, but there it is.
You got to do it.
That brings us about a week ahead, so there you go.
There you go. Thank you, Dapper. And Jordan, tell us what you do and what you will be up to soon. Presumably, it's just more Shroud all the time, right?
We do have some more Shroud of Turin content coming up. So I run Reason to Doubt along with my buddy Jared. And unlike Dapper, I don't plan out the next years of content where it's almost a running joke. A couple times we've gotten like 3 episodes ahead and we're like, okay, this time we're just going to stay. Never ever happened. So everything's done at the last minute, but we do have an episode tomorrow, just some ranking Christian apologetics. A good tier list. Everyone loves a good tier list. And we did do an interview recently with Dr. Steve Mason, who's a historian of the Roman Empire, particularly specializing in first century Judea. So we had like a 2-hour interview with this guy on all of the misconceptions people have about how Rome was in the time of Jesus. And I asked if people would want that split up or just one like Erica level size drop. And the people have spoken, they want the big drop. So whenever we get that edited.
There you go.
And then
the big drop.
Obviously you can't have a month go by and Reason to Doubt without some Shroud of Turin stuff. So the next Shroud of Turin thing is we're doing our radiocarbon series, right? And the next one is the one I'm most excited about. So we've done most of the things that they do to explain away the radiocarbon dating. This next one is the radiation hypothesis, the magic neutrons that bombarded the cloth. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very much.
I can't believe you've done this much study into the Shroud of Turin and you have not become a Christian, just like Otangelo Grasso.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. The more that I look into the Shroud of Turin, the less convinced I become. It's weird how that works.
Weird how that works. So, folks, currently, my wonderful panel is not linked in the description because I'm a professional. But I will put them there. I will put them there as soon as this is over. I'll get those links down in there, and you should all subscribe to each of these lovely people if you do not do so already. I enjoy all of their content. I have learned things from all of them, and you all should do the same if you're not already subscribed. So this all being said, I got 2 things. We got 2 super chats right here to show real fast, and then we're going to get to the reason we're all here tonight. So first, from Rasana Illegal Taxon Keller, it's Memorex for $1.99. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Savage Poultice Cuisine $2 pre-Yiddish. Can we just appreciate that half the people have these Dapper Dinosaur inside joke names going on now, and it's just, I love it every time I see it.
I love that these are from the stream I was on, because Matt is pre-Yiddish. Oh, by the way, the best part was, I like told that to my husband afterwards is the funniest thing, and he just looked at me with like the strangest straight face. Was like, does he mean German?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let us do what we are here to do tonight. So here's what we're going to do, everybody. Okay. We each have an argument, and again, I am a professional, so I did not survey anyone beforehand to see what their arguments are that they're going to fix. So I don't know if we overlap at all. We are going to find out. But we all have at least one young Earth creationist argument in hand that we are going to fix tonight. So what I want to do first is just real quick, go around the panel, tell us what you're going to fix. Then we'll go one by one, and we'll go through each of the 4, and we'll talk about how to fix these terrible arguments. So Maddie, start us off. What is the argument that you want to fix?
I want to fix accelerated nuclear decay and consequently the heat problem.
Well,
okay.
One of the heat problems. One of the heat problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
One of the heat problems. Yes. One of the heat problems.
Jordan, what are you bringing for us tonight?
I am going to fix all of young Earth creationism. I'm going to solve every single problem they have. Every one. I may be introducing new ones, possibly, by encouraging them to just fully embrace the Omphalos hypothesis.
Okay.
It's always last Thursday up in here, baby.
I love it. Dapper, what are you fixing for young Earth creationists?
I have sort of a broad category, but I'm going to be using a specific example, and that is the broad category is just stop pretending that taxonomy just broadly doesn't work, right? Just don't do that anymore. It's a really bad look. It doesn't help. And the specific example I'm going to be using is dinosaurs and birds, because it's a topic that I cover a lot, and it's one of those things where it's a completely unnecessary own goal every time they try to deny very basic facts about paleontology and taxonomy, and there's just no reason for them to do it. And it baffles me every single time. I'm just like, why are you bothering? Just don't. And they always do.
And I will be on my hobby horse with human genetics. I'm going to fix human genetics for creationists.
Nice.
And tangentially, depending, I think there's going to be some overlap here with how I want to do it and how what Jordan wants to do. And that's going to lead to us also fixing the post-flood speciation problem. We're going to solve, we're going to pay attention, YECs. We're going to fix your stuff tonight. You watch. All right. So, Maddie, accelerated nuclear decay seems like kind of actually, sorry, before we get there, I got another super chat here, so let me just pull this up real fast from Jake. Insert clever dapper inside joke here at Nelson for $5. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate that. And I love that username, Dapper. Your channel is leaking, and it makes me very happy.
That's okay by me.
Love what you do, Dr. Dan. Thank you. I appreciate you being here, especially after the long wait tonight. Okay, now we're ready to go.
I have to say, I was racking my brain earlier, trying to think of a way to tackle accelerated nuclear decay, and I couldn't come up with anything. So I'm very excited to see what Dr. Maddie has.
Okay.
Hit us, Maddie.
So this is what I've got. All right, can I share my screen? Because I have a spreadsheet.
Wow.
This is great. Yes.
Showing off those doctor credentials right now.
Yeah. That's on brand, right?
Share screen. I want to share this one. Okay. So I used uranium lead decay as my specific example, but of course this applies to all radioactive decay. For uranium lead decay, the basic equation of what's going on, right, is that your concentration of lead now divided by your concentration of uranium now is equal to E raised to the power of the decay constant times time minus 1, right? So this gives us our this gives us all that nice stuff. How we measure the age of very old rocks, or what those evolutionists would say are very old, because we of course here know that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Okay, now we also of course know, right, that during the flood of Noah, the Noachian deluge, if you will, physics changed. Why? That's not my problem, but it did. Physics changed. So we have physics before the flood and physics after the flood. And so the question really is about the physics before the flood. That glass was empty already. Anyway, okay. So here we've got, this is the measured, right, decay constant for uranium-235 to lead-207. And that's 9.72 times 10 to the negative 10th per year, right? And then this is the measured one now for uranium-238. Again, this is for post-flood physics, completely different than pre-flood physics.
Is that the decay constant all the way to lead, or?
That's all the way to lead.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then this number here is the, like, if you use common modern dating techniques, right, for these different like minerals. So specifically looking for zircons here. Then this is where I'm going to input my measured age, because of course what we want to do here is use this nice equation to calculate this lead to uranium ratio, right? I started doing this. I found an actual paper. I was using the actual ones. Then I was like, oh my gosh, hey, if I've got the decay constant and I've got the time, I can just calculate the lead to uranium ratio. Easy peasy, right? And so then we can give lots of examples. These numbers I took from the paper, but these aren't important anymore. So what we can do, right, is use this measured age and the measured decay constant for post-flood physics, right, to calculate the current things we could measure in the ground, lead to uranium ratio. And then we use that, and we use the actual time that elapsed. I rounded up for simplicity of calculation from creation to the flood of 2,000 years to figure out what that decay constant would have been pre-flood, right? Naturally, of course, right? And so we can plug in whatever numbers we like here, but I did 109.93. Again, I started by working off of a paper, so I was using specific years from that paper, whatever have you. So that if that was the measured time, then the actual decay constant for that amount of decay to occur in a 2,000 year period would be this number, right? If it was 87.3 million years measured, right, this would be the actual decay constant. And then if it was, the so-called age of the solar system, 4.567 billion years, or 4,567 million years, this here would be the decay constant. So the point here is, notice that in any given sample, right, because we could calculate the decay constant for both uranium-235 and uranium-238, notice that, of course, the change of the decay constant of those two of uranium isotopes in the same mineral, right, are the same. Naturally, of course, we'd expect that, right? Why should the decay constant for the uranium be, changed by a different amount to get to its constant of today? But between samples, it's, of course, has to be different, right? If we only needed 87 million years worth of decay to occur in 2,000 years, then we need, a slower decay constant than we would have needed if it's a 4.567 billion year old sample. So what is my point? Amazing question. I'm so glad you asked, right? My point is this. My point is that clearly, because we know, starting from a biblical worldview, that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. So what this tells us is that pre-flood, radioactive decay was a non-stochastic process, right? It could not be related to specific decay constants. So this nice relationship that we have now in post-flood physics, right, is there's so many flies in my office. I'm sorry, there's so many and they're really distracting.
I just want to point out that Jordan right now is doing the calculation GIF.
Yeah.
I'm doing I have a spreadsheet for the dose.
I figured you would be.
Accelerated the decay was.
I love
so
it.
I'm seeing what the dose would be while you're doing this.
Okay,
nerds,
I love it. Okay.
Nerds, all of you.
Yeah, we're all nerds. Yes.
That's why we're here.
So clearly in the pre-flood world, radioactivity was not based off of this simple exponential decay law, right? Not claiming to know what process that was, right? But it couldn't have been simple exponential decay because we know that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. And so this idea of a decay constant being a constant for an isotope is a modern post-flood physics concept. So really, really what we should expect when we go in and we look and, hey, this rock, only this much uranium decayed in 6,000 years. But in this rock, only this much uranium decayed in 6,000 years, right? What we're seeing is in that pre-flood world is, again, this non-stochastic process that could have been influenced by all different kinds of things, especially like that energy of creation, right? You know, who knows what effects on the natural world that would have had when God created it in 6 24-hour periods. And so my main point here is that really, when we're measuring these ages, we're measuring different rates of decay, right? And so since all of these rocks are the same age, right? Clearly, they all have to be the same age. We're just measuring different rates of decay. And if they didn't have to do all of that decay, right? If the amount of lead, right? So if this rock is measured as 4.5 billion years old, but this rock is only measured, right? And we have very few samples that measure at 4.5 billion years old, right?
True.
So
Very
really, most rocks only emitted very little radiation pre-flood because they weren't decaying that much, right? Differences of millions, hundreds of millions of years. So this significantly reduces our heat problem from radioactive decay because there was not as much. We don't have to cram 4.5 billion years worth of nuclear decay, as the evolutionists would tell us, into 2,000 years, or even 1 year of the flood, depending on which model you prefer. Right? No, really, in reality, there just wasn't that much nuclear decay, right? Which is how we get all these disparate ages from
So
the
hold on.
flood world.
So you're saying
yeah,
every sample
yeah,
had its own bespoke decay rate.
yes,
And
Got
they
it.
were vertically correlated.
Can I
yes.
can I try to
Maybe it was
my-
gravity. Maybe
So-
like the closer it
Raw
got to
Matt
the
was
center.
right the whole
Raw Matt was
time.
right. Oh my goodness. It was Raw Matt's answer. All right. Can I so I'm the only one here that
Mhm.
does not have a brain equipped to understand this. Right. So the three
Okay,
of
what you got? What you got?
followed all of this. So I'm gonna try to put this into dumb biologist language here. If I understand you correctly, you're saying all the samples we have, their actual maximum age is like 6,000 something years, right? That's the
Yes.
like no rocks can be older than that. So we
Clearly
can
not,
put
yeah.
that number into the t of the equation. And then what changes, and we have the ratios, that's directly measured. So what
Exactly.
changes for each individual sample is the decay constant, because 1 is constant, E is constant, the ratio we can measure, and T we know. So
Yeah.
that means that lambda, the constant, is going to change for each sample in a, we're not sure, but it's probably some kind of time-dependent pre-flood, post-flood way.
Yes.
And that allows us to get around this problem of radiometric dating. And it also means that in actuality, there's just a lot less decay happening, which removes a major source of heat from the heat problem. How'd I do?
That's correct. That's my exact argument.
Look at me. Look at me.
So
That's great.
basically,
I
you
love it.
just have to say physics, but what if it was different, though?
But what if it was different in the
think-
pre-flood world? You
there
don't
are
know.
no other. Look, all proposals that could possibly solve the heat problem are going to have to be, what if physics was different?
Yeah.
Even the rate
Hey,
team has
look.
acknowledged this.
Hey, look, we already have from the smartest young Earth creationist ever for genetics, wonky things pre-flood. Why don't we just do that for physics too?
Yeah,
Right? I love it.
wonky is going to be the next big term in science. It's
I'm in.
technical term, wonky.
Maddie, I'm in. Variable decay Oklo, Who cares? Those rocks are only 3,000 years old anyway, for all
Exactly.
we know. They have their own decay constants. It doesn't matter.
Look, every single atom was doing whatever it wanted.
Every
Man, it's
single
free will.
atom.
Let's
Right.
not worry about the fact that this would require localized changes in the strength of the strong nuclear force, which would then mean that certain isotopes, which normally wouldn't be radioactive, now would be. But we don't have to worry about that.
No,
We're
You're
not, now
using
would be.
today physics.
Yeah.
That's today physics.
Good point.
That's not pre-flood
point.
physics.
This is, look, no, Raw Matt nailed this one. This is on an atom by atom basis, okay?
And sorted by gravity.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
maybe it might actually be sorted by the strength of the strong force.
Oh, the strong force was getting weaker as you go down?
Yeah.
All the
That's-
forces were unified, and they all acted like gravity. That's
Oh, there it is. Maddie has solved not only the heat problem, but also quantum gravity. Well done, Maddie.
Boom.
Thank you. Good
Maddie-
night.
Sorry.
Listen, I started
Dr.
this
Maddie wins.
by just wanting to like make a specific claim about what the decay constant would be, right? About how when they say accelerated nuclear decay, right?
Like,
they never
how
say
fast?
by how much,
Yeah.
right? Or acknowledge that it would be a different amount of acceleration for each dating
thing.
method for
Yeah.
each sample, right? It's all different. And
Right.
so I just wanted to have specific numbers to make a specific claim, right?
I
And
love
then it turned into I solved everything if you just
Well
let
done.
physics be different.
Turns out if you just, that's the line right there. You
Yeah.
solve everything if you just let physics be different.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. While we were having fun with physics, we got a couple super chats. So from I don't know how to say your name. Sorry, Rasana. I don't know how you want to pronounce that. But Rasana, illegal tax on Keller for $4.99. I thought the post-flood speciation problem was already fixed with my mega hyper evolution. Yeah, and that's a dumb solution, and I got a better one.
Nice.
And then from Gupdo3 for $5. Fun fact, the woman from the calculation GIF recently came out as bi. I had no idea, but thank you for that fun fact, and happy Pride
Cool.
Month.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month. And honestly, other than that GIF, I don't even know who that person is.
So I believe, and I was on someone who I trust to know this told me this one time. It is a famous actor from where is she from? Now I forget the country, but like a famous where she is from.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another country, so I might not have seen whatever.
And rather than try to guess and be horrifically wrong and embarrass myself, I'm just not going to guess. But I remember, oh yeah, she's a TV actress and whatever, and I forget what it is, but she's very well known in that. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So because Jordan solved everything, I want to wait on Jordan because he is going to solve everything. So I want to go to Dapper next to solve the taxonomy problem here. So Dapper, give us just a brief outline of what the issue is for creationists here, the bird dinosaur problem or the human ape problem, if you will.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of problems that are basically connected, right? Where
wait, sorry, hang on. Before you get going, I just want to hit this now for $1.99. Thank you. Rosina, illegal tax on Keller for $1.99. Which types of radioactive decay have local rates? According to Maddie, all of them. As I
only
understand
pre-flood. Nowadays,
Pre-flood,
no.
Nowadays, no, but pre-flood, all of them. It was all just whatever. Yeah. Okay. Take it away.
Got to broaden your mind. Got to broaden your mind, man.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the problems that young Earth creationism seems to have created for itself is this thing where like, oh, humans aren't apes and birds aren't dinosaurs, and I'm sure there's a few more that we can get into. And the reason that this seems to be a problem is that, well, one, you have to just ignore basic definitions about what these things mean. So like, oh, okay, Brazilian actress Renata Soroplana Nazare Tedesco, telenovela. Okay, cool.
From Brazil, telenovela. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, now I know. Let's see if I can remember it, which is iffy, because it has to do with humans, so I'm probably not going to remember it. Yeah. I wish I were lying about that, honestly. So, I've lost my train. Oh, right. So the taxonomy thing. So one of the problems with that, though, is that broadly speaking, creationists don't seem to reject the idea of taxa higher than kinds. So every time they decide that one particular group that science has put into some higher taxon that none of them would think is a quote-unquote kind, they sometimes just kind of reject it. And it's not clear to me why, and it would solve a whole lot of problems. So, for instance, right now, a lot of creationists, pretty much all the major organizations, are stuck in the situation where they just have to either deny very basic reality about both human anatomy and just like birds, broadly speaking, just all sorts of stuff about birds, and to no real benefit. Because the thing that I want to point out is no creationist would use the arguments that they use for why birds aren't dinosaurs about, say, whales and mammals, right? So they'll say, well, birds can't be dinosaurs because dinosaurs don't have beaks. Well, actually, I tend not to use that one, but we'll say dinosaurs don't have feathers. Well, first of all, they absolutely do. But even if we ignore that, that's the same argument as saying whales aren't mammals because mammals don't have blowholes. The problem is, well, yeah, except for the whales, and having or not having a blowhole has never been part of the definition of mammal, ever. No one has ever assessed mammals on that basis, right? We use other criteria, and guess what? When those criteria were set out, whales met every single criterion for being a mammal. And the same thing is similar for humans and apes, right? There's a reason that Carolus Linnaeus wanted to put humans and chimpanzees and orangutans not in the same family, in the same genus. This guy wanted orangutans to be in the genus Homo. And basically, it was like peer pressure from clergy that was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. But yeah, like this is not a new fact that humans are apes, right? This has been long understood by biologists, even devout Christian ones who were creationists of a more extreme variety than we have now, right? Linnaeus was a species fixity guy, right? He didn't think that any species shared common ancestry. He thought that the species were directly created by God as intrinsic parts of the natural world that were unchanging. And there you go. So basically, my solution to this is pretty simple. Stop. Just don't do that anymore. It's really that easy. And the thing is, some of them are actually kind of doing that, right? Like we've heard Donnie say things occasionally like, well, anatomically speaking, and perhaps taxonomically speaking, humans are apes. And we have like Matt McLean, who is fully on board with feathered dinosaurs and birds being a subset of dinosaurs. And so some of the arguments that I want to say, hey, you just don't have to because it doesn't work, are things like, well, dinosaurs and birds would have been made on different days because, birds are air flying creatures made on day 5. And dinosaurs are land creatures made on day 6. Well, hey, guess what? You don't do the same thing for whales. Mammals are land creatures. Does that mean that whales can't be mammals because they were made on a different day than the mammals? No creationist says that. So don't say it about dinosaurs. Yeah, or penguins, right? Well, actually, no, because the air and water creatures are both day 5. Land creatures are day 6. So I guess for penguins, it wouldn't make a difference. But you could say ostriches, right? Yeah. Are ostriches day 5 or day 6? And that's the thing, is that they're trying to use these things that are not being divided taxonomically, because the Bible isn't using taxonomy. It's using habitat to divide the days of creation. So that means stop using it as a taxonomy argument. Just don't. It's a really simple fix. Just don't. Another one is, hey, guys, you do realize that by cherry picking Alan Fiducia talking points, one, you're getting in bed with a guy who thinks that Velociraptor and Therizinosaurus and Oviraptor and like Dinochirus and Ornithomimus, these were all not dinosaurs. They were birds. They were just birds. Velociraptor's a bird. Now, to be fair, David Menton, before his death while working for an anti-vax organization during the middle of a global pandemic, who was scaring everyone away from taking the vaccine, who seems to have had some kind of upper respiratory illness. That's what I'll say about that. That guy did actually come out and say, well, maybe Velociraptor just is a bird, it's a take, but also a bad take. Another thing I would like in connection with this is just stop lying about the definition of bird, right? Gabriella Haynes famously just said that we should go back to following the Linnaean definition for bird. And so when I was doing the paper review of her paper about this, I pulled up Systema Naturae in the original Latin to read through the definition of avis.
I just want to say, of course you did.
Well, yeah, of course I did.
Because you're a linguist.
No, I'm not a linguist. I just know enough Latin to read through some of Systema Naturae.
Okay.
You don't have to be a linguist to know some Latin.
Okay.
I would suggest everyone involved in biology should learn a little bit of Latin. It helps.
You don't have a choice. You will learn Latin if you study biology.
There is that. Yeah,
I avoided that one.
Yeah.
You'll come
Why
away-
are you giving me more reasons to avoid biology, Dan?
right?
But see, here's the thing. You avoided that one, Maddie, but you know what you had to learn instead?
Oh,
math.
Do you know what
True.
I'm actually learning right this second for my postdoc?
I would love to hear.
Fortran.
Yeah, it's a great modern language that the utility infrastructure is built on. I don't know what you're talking about.
And the great thing is, I called it. Maddie on our last show was like, guess what programming language I'm having to learn? And the first thing I said is Fortran. Yup.
I'm
Fortran.
still mad about it.
I
But
don't blame you.
all numerical weather models are written in it.
I'm sorry.
My apologies. So let's see. Yeah, stop lying about Linnaeus. Or I guess just being massively ignorant about Linnaeus. But here's the reason I say lying, right? Gabriella Haynes, who I'm pointing this out because of, she cited Carolus Linnaeus in her paper. And to me, when you cite a source, what that means is you are saying, I have checked this source. It says what I say it does, and it agrees with at least the part of the argument that I'm using it for, if not necessarily the whole argument, right?
That would be my assumption, yes.
Mm-hmm. So if it doesn't, then one of two things happened. Either you checked the source, noticed that it didn't support you, but wanted to pretend it did anyway, which is a lie. Or you didn't check the source, which means that putting it in as a source is a lie because it isn't a source. You didn't use it as a source. Those are the only options I see. So every time I see an incorrect source, it's hard for me to conclude that you're not just lying about it. So one, stop lying about Linnaeus. Stop lying about birds. Stop lying about proto-feathers, because there's, again, no need to, right? Because here's the thing, right? What is the problem for young Earth creationists? If God said, hey, the animals that have feathers are dinosaurs. Birds are a group of dinosaurs, so they get feathers, just like the group of animals that have hair in the true mammalian sense. We're just going to call them mammals. And you can say, well, what about insects? Well, that's not the same kind of hair. It's not made of the same protein. It doesn't have the same structure. It doesn't grow the same way. It's just another kind of filament. Okay, just do that. And the same thing with humans and apes, right? Like, why do you have to pretend that, oh, these are clearly apes and these are clearly humans? Just say that humans are a kind within a larger group of apes, which themselves are more than one kind, right? Hey, have a gorilla and a chimpanzee kind and an orangutan kind and a hylobatid kind and a human kind. And sure, you're still going to have to deal with the problems of the genetic similarity being greater between humans and chimps than between chimps and gorillas. But that was always going to be a problem no matter what. It's still a problem, even when you don't say that. So yeah, I mean, no creationist has ever had a problem that I've heard of with saying that humans are mammals or vertebrates. Also, connected to this, stop saying that humans aren't animals. Because you can say, look, come up with another distinction, right? Historically, we have a language for this. We call animals that aren't humans brutes or beasts or things like that, or combine them, brute, beast. Brute literally just means animal that can't talk. It's fine. Just bring back the word brute. Bring it back.
So I just want to point out that we are 2 for 2 on being able to explain our fixes in the form of GIFs. Okay, Maddie was Brazilian telenovela actress calculation GIF, and Dapper is Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Stop it.
Just stop.
Get help.
Get some help.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it's not a complicated fix.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Just stop doing that. If you
Stop
can
being
say
wrong for no reason.
Completely
Right,
unforced error. It buys you nothing.
Yeah.
right. Humans are eukaryotes. Humans are metazoans. Like, just carry that all the way down, because you can admit that humans are in the higher hierarchical categories without saying that those categories reflect evolutionary history, because as a young Earth creationist, obviously you don't think that. It's perfectly fine to adopt the Linnaean system where everything was created and you're basically grouping them based on similarity. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And you can then just say, hey, but they were separately created. That's fine, because you know what doesn't apply if you're a young Earth creationist? Monophily. So you can just ignore it. You can just ignore monophily. You don't have to remove humans from apes or hominids or simians or whatever category you want that you think doesn't work, right?
Although I will say more specifically, it does apply, but only within created kinds.
It only applies within created kinds. And if you say that humans and pick your ape are not the same created kind, then that's fine. You could still group them taxonomically, because your taxonomic system is not a cladistic system. And that is fine. Just own it.
Importantly, they're already grouping apes and humans together taxonomically, just at higher ranks.
Just at higher levels, yeah. They're both mammals. Everyone agrees with that.
No one is saying that, chimpanzees aren't mammals, or that humans aren't mammals. So, great. Just acknowledge that they're both primates. They're both old world monkeys. They're both apes. It's fine. Just do it.
Easy.
Basically, what you're saying is kind of like, just because they fall within this hierarchy doesn't mean that that's the way that corresponds to how they were actually made. God could have used an animal pattern when he made all the animals.
That's the standard thing that creationists use to explain taxonomy in general. All I'm saying is, hey, stop making weird exceptions for stupid emotional reasons where you don't need to, that just make you look stupid.
And I do want to point out that Dapper has what is quite possibly the definitive debate with Kent on this.
Yes, I do.
The debate was, are birds dinosaurs? And in that debate, what we learned from Kent, Dr. Dino Hovand, is that he does not know the definition of dinosaur.
Yeah, he could not look at an animal without already having been told whether it's a dinosaur and decide if it's a dinosaur on his own.
Yeah,
with any kind of accuracy, which explains a lot of things, right? It explains why he thinks that mosasaurs are dinosaurs. It explains why, like, if I remember correctly, I think I've heard him refer to Basilosaurus as a dinosaur. I mean, it's got saurus in the name. He's also referred to Zeuglodon, which is I believe a junior synonym for a different cetacean, as a dinosaur. And also why it is that he seems to think that he needs to die on the hill of birds not being dinosaurs. Like, just don't. Yeah.
What blows my mind about that is that he does not even have an internal definition of what is a dinosaur.
Right.
Yeah, because the question I asked him wasn't, what is a dinosaur? It's, how would you recognize an animal as a dinosaur? What would make you identify it? And just no answer.
That blows my mind. Listen, and like, I don't have an answer to that question, but I'm not a paleontologist. I'm not an expert in dinosaurs. Don't claim to be one.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Right. It's not that. It's not just that he says, like, I understand this. This is my thing. He calls himself Dr. Dino.
Right. He has proclaimed himself on multiple occasions in his billing to be an expert on dinosaurs and the Bible. Yeah. Of course, Kent Hovind also thinks that Timothy wrote the books 1st and 2nd Timothy in the Bible, even though they're actually pseudo-epigraphical works attributed to Paul. Which means that, given that he's a literalist, he should be saying that they were by Paul. And if he were better at knowing anything about the Bible, he would know that they were by someone other than Paul, writing in the name of Paul to possibly a historical Timothy.
Right, which is why we have a working theory that Kent is functionally illiterate.
Right, yeah. Because none of the options are that this is a book written by Timothy. That is not open to us.
Having read his thesis, as I know, I don't know about Jordan, but I know Maddie and Dapper are familiar with Kent.
Read all I needed to, which was the intro. Hi, my name is Kent.
Hi, my name is Kent Hovind. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. That's all you need. But like 3 out of the 4 of us, I believe, Maddie, correct me if I'm wrong for you, but at least 2 out of the 4 of us have suffered through the entire thing.
I haven't read the entire thing. I've read bits of it and gave up.
It only takes a couple hours. It's not long.
Or it takes 12 hours if you're doing it live with commentary from like 4 different people.
That is how the internet works. Yes. So I like this fixing of creationist arguments. Basically, if I can distill Dapper's revision down to a single kind of brief thing here, it's this. Young Earth creationists, stop being wrong about things that don't matter to your position.
Right. Yeah, basically.
Like,
I mean,
you don't have to pick
this fight. A lot of stuff.
You don't have to pick this fight. Just stop being wrong about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I want to do. I got a couple super chats to go through, and then Jordan, like I said, I want to save you for last because you're going to solve every problem, and I think some of what I'm going to say is gonna dovetail into yours. So I want to go through these super chats, then I'm going to do mine, and then we'll go to Jordan. And Jordan, Young Earth Creationists, I hope you're watching because Jordan is going to solve everything. All right. So first, from Bread of Life, Rebecca, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here for $10. Very generous. Thank you. Guys, you have to just let physics be different for the origin of life too. Quote, from matter to life. You also have to just let physics be different for the Big Bang too. Point taken. I disagree, but point taken. I think somebody else in the chat may have said that we don't understand the pre-Big Bang situation. Not necessarily
or
different.
if pre-Big Bang is even a meaningful concept,
or because there's no time is
Yeah.
one of the, it's weird. Yeah. Okay. And then also from Bread of Life, again, thank you, and we're happy to have you here for $5. And hello to you all, Dr. Maddie. Great to see you. Hope you are well. Dapper as always, and hi to Dr. Dan and
Hi, Bread of
Jordan.
Life.
Rebecca, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Agreed.
This is not a super chat, but I want to show it anyway because this is near and dear to my heart. NIMBY, but not in my taxonomy. NIMT. I like that a lot. NIMBY, for those of you who don't know, is an abbreviation for not in my backyard. Not an acronym, not abbreviation, but acronym for not in my backyard, referring to people who resist development of new homes in their community. And what everyone should be instead is a YIMBY, a yes in my backyard, because that, my friends, is how we bring home prices down. And in large parts of the country, particularly the coast, we have a housing affordability crisis because for decades we haven't built enough homes, and everybody should be YIMBY. And basically everybody, if you like where you live, everybody, regardless of their economic status, should have the opportunity to live where you live. So you should encourage the building of homes of all kinds in your region, in your state, in your city, in your neighborhood. You should be a YIMBY.
Also, I got to point out real quick, I love the profile picture of the stomatopod with the big beefy arm.
Yeah. It
That's
makes
fantastic.
me think of Trogdor.
That's great.
Yeah, it does make me think of Trogdor. I'm pretty sure that there's a Trogdor reference in there.
Yeah.
Rossana, I'm going to pronounce it different every time. Does anyone know how to say that?
No, continue.
Nope. Rossana, illegal tax on Keller for another $4.99, and thank you for your generosity. I appreciate it. Really, you don't have to do that. Everyone knows Tyrannosaurus Rex, 3 words, was a bird that gave birth to armless children called chickens. No, it's actually legless because according to Matt Powell, it's the other limbs.
Yeah.
The limbs switched at some point.
Yeah,
If
apparently.
if you don't know that one, Google it, folks.
You can even find it on my channel because in his video of that, he put at the end an encouragement for other people to download and re-upload the video on their channel. So I took his, I was like, okay. And yeah, specifically, he seems to think that one, Tyrannosaurus Rex is the ancestor to modern birds, which is extremely not true.
Nope.
He also seems to think that bird hind limbs evolved from Tyrannosaurus forelimbs, which is not true.
Also,
And apparently that bird wings are a completely novel anatomical structure that just didn't exist anywhere on Tyrannosaurus Rex, which no, they're just arms.
he even had only 2.
Weird,
Whatever.
they're weird clubby arms, but they're arms.
Whenever I hear something like that, I just have to look. Just look. Like, you need to stop. Look. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Matt Powell, we will crowdfund your education. Please just go to an accredited university.
Matt Powell, you can email me and I will share. I'll send you the book. I'm teaching a class starting next week. I got a Twitter thread on this. You can sign up for my class if you want. It'll be awesome. Not next week, the week after. In 2 weeks, I'm starting to teach a class. I wrote a book for that class. Email me. I'll send you the book. I'll send you the book.
And
it's
importantly,
a little short evolution. I'll send you the book.
Importantly, Matt, what we're not trying to do is get you to stop being a young Earth creationist.
No.
We're trying to get you to stop being the absolute dumbest possible young Earth creationist. And there's a big difference.
That's the other Matt, but second.
Okay, the second dumbest possible. Yeah.
It's close.
Yeah. Again, my offer, this is a real offer I've put on every Matt with Maddie that we've done at Matt Powell of please take a class in communication and or rhetoric and at an accredited university right? It just has to be accredited. It can be Christian, whatever you want, just accredited. And like I will find a way to foot that bill, right?
We'll make it work.
Please,
I
just be
won't,
better
but
at
I
your
will
job.
give you positive vibes.
Yeah.
Okay, my
Thoughts and
unfinished
prayers for
journey.
Jordan.
My unfinished journey for $6.66. Hail Nero. I see what you did there, by the way. Hail Nero. Hail Science. Hail an unexpected Dapper-ish stream tonight. Dapper, basically, I should invite you on more often, is what people are telling me. Is that when you're here, I get your audience. And folks, if you're here from Dapper, let me just be a little shameless for a moment here. Like, you should sub to my channel. Like, come on.
I agree.
You should do that. All
Sub
right,
Dan
here.
does great.
All the cool
Dan does
kids
great
are doing
stuff.
it.
Granted, he's not doing the 5 hours worth of content a week, but
That's true. That's true. Last one for now. Fits of You Can't Fly Complexity Range for $2. I love these so much. For Vishanti, I must protest the GIF pronunciation. I will fight you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not a
Yes.
graphics interface.
Yeah,
so-
it's a graphics with a hard G. It's a GIF. I will fight you.
so will Vishanti, but on the other side.
All right, folks.
For context, can I read the first sentence of my dissertation?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Please.
The overarching goal of this dissertation is to identify the causal mechanisms behind very rapid sea ice loss events.
But I don't know who's writing it, so F.
By the way, that appears on page that is after 26 pages of front matter. But
Wait, is that your intro or your abstract?
that's my intro. Do you want the first
It's your
sentence of
intro.
my
Okay.
abstract? Yeah.
I just pulled up mine. I'm gonna go down to my intro, which is there's fewer pages than that. Okay. Oh, I like how I started mine. This is the only line of mine I like. See, I like how I started this. Viruses are subcellular, intracellular parasites, biological entities smaller than most cells and unable to replicate independently from their hosts. I start with the definition of viruses. That works.
It works.
I like that. Okay, folks. While we were chatting, a couple things here. Oh my goodness. Rosina, illegal taxon Keller, please tell me how to pronounce your name, please, in the chat. I'll see.
Make him guess.
Don't make it a super chat. Just tell me how to do it correctly. I'm here for all the great presentations.
Put it in the
Thank
International
you.
Phonetic Alphabet.
This is for
Don't do that. That's some strange form of Elvish that nobody could read.
No, put it in the alphabet. I've been practicing.
Nice.
It's for $9.99. I appreciate you. This is very generous. Thank you. And Fade to Gray, no true Dino Man for $2. I, for one, applaud the correct pronunciation of GIF. Thank you. Thank you.
She says it's Roshina.
Roshina. I'm looking at the chat right now. I'm gonna hang on. I'm looking in the chat. I don't see it, but how far is it? Okay. Oh, I see
it. You don't trust me, Dan? I can't read.
I see it. Okay. Also, too young to feel this old. Man, that is a personal attack. Let me tell you. Too young for my knees to feel this old. Gifted 5 memberships. That is extremely generous. That's going to DM, Google Debunker Wing, Sydney Raptor, Fade to Gray, No True Dino Man, Andrew Cumming, and Robert Atset were all gifted memberships. That is very kind. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so let me, there it is. Let me put that back down. Now I'm going to go because again, Jordan's going to fix all of Young Earth Creation. So we're saving him for last. That's the cherry on top. So I'm going to go next. And mine starts off kind of small scale, but it branches, and I think it'll lead to Jordan's. So here is the thing that I want to fix. I want to fix like genetics and speciation with the flood, because it's a giant cluster. Okay, you have if you have an early flood boundary, right, that means you have fewer species necessary on the arc, but then you have to have faster post-flood speciation. If you have a late flood boundary, then that means you have fewer things evolving post-flood, but you have to account for more diversity actually on the arc. You have more kinds, in effect, is what needs to happen.
Right.
So You also have a problem with human genetics, where the flood story traditionally has the Ark landing Ararat located in modern-day Turkey, and then humans radiating from there around the world, which is at odds with every measure of human genetics, whether it's just raw diversity, heterozygosity,
linkage disequilibrium.
Linkage disequilibrium, and you can measure that in a bunch of different ways. And also just like nesting, right? If you just look at all of human genetic diversity, the root of your tree is to be found among sub-Saharan African populations, right?
But Dan, what if we just don't root the tree?
I am going to hurt you. I'm not solving that problem.
Okay.
Don't add more problems.
Fair enough.
The model is hopelessly broken and I can't fix it. Jordan can. We're going to get there. But
you can only fix parts of it.
I can only fix little parts of it. So here's the thing that you can do with this. There's a couple aspects to this, so everyone's got to bear with me. One, a problem is that we are too diverse. Now, humans, let's be clear, are all extraordinarily similar. There are no different races. Like, we're all very similar because we've only been around for a short amount of time. But for the amount of diversity we have, you can't squeeze that diversity into a young Earth timeline, especially if you include Neanderthals and try to get the migrations to work given a Middle East origin rather than a sub-Saharan African origin. None of this stuff works. So here's the solution, folks. Neanderthals, pre-flood. We're going to move the flood boundary up, okay?
Okay.
Neanderthals are now pre-flood, and in fact, interbreeding with Neanderthals was part of the problem.
Oh.
That was not okay.
Clearly.
Are the human Neanderthal hybrids the Nephilim?
I don't care. They're not okay. They survived the flood, so they must have been Noah and his family. But that happened at some point in the generations leading to the flood. Okay, but Noah and his family were cool, apparently. But anyway, that solves the Neanderthal diversity problem, right? We don't need to have that descending from our flood, Noah's family, okay?
So wait, does that mean Neanderthals separately survived the flood?
No. They're just all pre-flood.
Okay, so the flood boundary is going higher than our latest Neanderthals.
Yes.
Okay.
Flood boundary,
I was
super recent.
Confused.
Flood boundary, super recent. And I think this is going to get us to Jordan's thing. Trust me, I got a whole thing.
It also fixes the problem of, like, how do you get all of the evident post-flood sedimentation that's all over the place?
Dapper, we're going to get there, I promise you.
I'm jumping
okay? But we're going to stick with human genetics first. So first, we have a late flood boundary. So there's a whole lot of stuff like Neanderthals, it was pre-flood. Okay, so we no longer need to deal with that in our phylogenetics when we're doing human genetics in the 4,000 years, okay? Next thing is the Ark landed on Ararat, which we now call Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
Okay?
Like it.
And until the Tower of Babel dispersal, all of human populations lived in that approximate area. Congratulations, young Earth creationists. You just solved every human genetics problem you have.
All you had to do is change the name of one mountain.
All you had to do was, like, there's so much stuff in the Bible that is like the word change or it's a mistranslation. Like, guys, just eat it. Ararat equals Kilimanjaro. Boom.
Here's a great example. Creationists generally don't think that the Tigris and Euphrates that are named as being in the Garden of Eden are the same rivers that are in Iraq now.
So why can't we just
come on the mountain too? And seriously. The thing is, I actually don't think that it would be a good argument to say, well, I mean, the Tigris and the Euphrates, we know where those are, and that's where the Garden of Eden. I don't actually think that's a good argument because you know what? People change the names of things. Do you know how many cities there are in the United States that are named after cities in Europe and aren't called like New whatever? There's like a London. Hell, there's like 4 or 5 rows in the United States. Yeah, Philadelphia. Like, they're all over the place. It just happens. Humans like to do that kind of.
So I just solved Paris, so many problems. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, Maddie.
Just like Paris, Texas, right?
Right. Rome. Athens, Georgia. Like,
what are we doing? When I was planning my trip to Rome and I was like, show me flights to Rome. And it was like, oh, you want to go to like Kansas or whatever? I was like, really? Really? You think that's where I want to go?
Come on.
Heck, there are
are you looking at my wallet?
There are 2 cities in New Hampshire that are basically next to each other that are both named after the same Irish city, but both have different names, Derry and Londonderry, because they figured out how to solve the whole Irish problem by just going with, like, what if we just broke it into 2 cities and gave it both names?
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not done yet though, because what we just did is we solved a bit of problems with the genetics of humans and the nesting in sub-Saharan Africa, and we removed Neanderthals as a problem. Okay,
Mhm.
solve those issues. We're not done yet, because this leads to another problem. That if we have this late flood boundary and we fix the Neanderthal problem, that creates an arc problem, because now we need a lot more kinds on the arc, because it also solves the problem of post-flood speciation, in that we now have much less of the fossil record that we have to account for post-flood. So it makes that easier. The downside to that is we now have to have many more kinds on the arc. And here's the solution to this. And this is the big thing. And I really want everyone, all young Earth creationists, to really think about this one. And Jordan, this is where I think we're going to feed relatively smoothly into you. The ark was a miracle. The flood was a miracle. You don't need to explain the logistics of animal waste management for the ark. Just pack 50,000 critters on there and call it good. The whole thing was a miracle, and makes your life so much easier, creationists. I swear, just eat that one. Just say the whole flood, top to bottom, was a miracle. That allows you to have a late flood boundary. That solves your speciation problem. It fixes your Neanderthal problem with human genetics. You land that ark on Kilimanjaro, it solves your human, dispersal problem. Like, just put a late flood boundary ark landing on Kilimanjaro, and all the logistical problems, whether it's water, continental movement, heat, species surviving on the ark for a year, why, the carnivores didn't eat the herbivores immediately when they got off the ark, like, all of those problems were solved miraculously, because the flood writ large was a miraculous event, and there you go. And that makes your model way better.
And the flood has to be a miraculous event to make physics different.
Yeah. And also, it was a thing where God said, this is happening now. So we know that it was a miraculous, we don't need all of this, no, just say the flood year writ large was a miraculous event, and call it good.
I can't highlight it, but Rana in the chat says, just one miracle, as a treat.
Yeah.
Who said that? Oh, yeah, there you go.
Rana, unwelcome you once again.
Exactly.
You literally can't make it rain everywhere on planet Earth at the same time.
That doesn't work.
But what about the hypercanes, Maddie? What about the hypercanes?
Okay, Maddie.
Okay, I need
can we
you to know the hypercanes. That's a real term.
It
I
is.
had to look this up.
Uh-huh.
It was introduced by Kerry Emanuel. He's a professor at MIT. As this idea of larger than modern hurricanes that would have existed when Earth's overall temperature was warmer, right?
Also, especially during Pangea, we're talking the early Mesozoic and the Paleozoic period.
Not miraculous things, not causing rain everywhere all at once, but just hurricanes, but bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because here's the thing about hurricanes. They're really cool. And if they were to stay over an ocean, they could, in theory, live indefinitely.
That
is pretty sweet.
Which is cool.
But Maddie, can we get rain everywhere all the time over Ferenginar?
Over Ferenginar, clearly, yes. Listen, here's
Let's have a stream about this.
What about Roshar?
Roshar only rains on certain portions in a cycle.
It's not. It is a constant storm,
it's
but it doesn't.
Moving storm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
A constant storm is
Fair enough.
well precedented, right? That's we see that on Jupiter, a storm that's existed for hundreds of years.
Okay, that's fair.
And just like on Jupiter, this one infuses gems with magic power.
Don't worry about
it. Yeah.
We don't
Roshar.
know that doesn't happen on Jupiter.
Wow. I got the feeling from reading the books that Roshar didn't have nearly that high gravity, but I guess I was wrong.
Wait, you're reading the books too?
You don't need.
I'm not currently engaged in doing so, but yes. Dan, you're the one who sent me most of them.
Assimilate. Yeah, we're going to get all of you.
You don't need high gravity to get the storm. You need a fast rotation rate.
How long is the day-night cycle on Roshar? Do we know?
I don't know, but I suspect it's about similar to Earth standard.
If I
do know it's all wobbly because the seasons are wacky, like they are in A Song of Ice and Fire. like the seasons like come and go, like you have
Might be a
winter for,
problem.
like a few weeks,
Might be a problem. Okay. So hang on, I got a super chat, at least one that I gotta take care of here. Okay, hang on, we did that one. Okay, here we are. So we have this Roshina. Thank you for helping us with the pronunciation. YECs want to talk about the genetic bottleneck we see in the mtDNA of every single species on Earth that occurs at the same time, at the same exact general time. Counterpoint, talk about that awful paper nonstop.
Ugh.
I hate that paper so much. There's so much wrong with that paper. That paper sucks.
Yeah. And the thing is,
so many problems with that paper.
If we just take the paper at face value, it doesn't even say what the Young Earth Creationists
It's still
wanted
wrong.
to say. Yeah.
Right.
It just says that most organisms have a coalescence time for their mitochondrial genome on around the same order of magnitude, which like
order of magnitude.
Okay. Yeah. Which like it's weird, but it's not exactly like all organisms came to exist within the last 100,000 years.
And most recent common ancestor doesn't mean origin. Most recent common ancestor doesn't mean bottleneck.
Yep. None of that is accurate.
None of that. So there's no way, even if you pretended that paper said that all the mitochondrial most recent common ancestors were at the same time, rather than spanning a range of several 100,000 years. Let's put that aside, right? If you take at face value the other parts of it and you compress it into the same time, that doesn't mean it was the origin, doesn't mean it was a bottleneck. You can't use it for either the flood or creation. That's not what mitochondrial most recent common ancestor means. Yeah. And if you want to assign all of those dates in that paper, which again, in order of magnitude, going back over 100,000 years, if you want to compress that and say for the mitochondrial most recent common ancestor, that's 6,000 some odd years ago, congratulations, you just admitted young Earth creation is wrong because mitochondria have a smaller effective population size than the rest of the genome, which means that the rest of the genome necessarily has a most recent common ancestor in the more distant past. Once again, creationists, stop it. Get some help.
Just stop.
Just stop.
All right. From Pibblepunk, half dog, half canine. Once again, thank you, Dapper, for
you're welcome.
For $2. Thank you, Pibblepunk. Neanderthals, you mean the old man with rockets? I know what you mean. You didn't need to do another
Rickets,
super chat, but I appreciate your generosity. It's rickets. Yes. And also no, because they're wrong about that. But yes, that's what.
Yeah. Have we found elderly Neanderthals with, like arthritis and other problems? Yes. But we've also found young, healthy, strapping Neanderthals. So, like, how do you explain this Neanderthal baby? Was it just, like, weird Benjamin Button baby? Is that what we're going with?
Don't
give them ideas.
Them ammunition. That's
no. Sorry.
They're going to use that. All right.
Benjamin Button was just a Neanderthal. That's what the movie was really about.
You got one more. And then
did I miss one? Oh, there's one more. Sorry. Hang on. 4-digit file extensions, 32 years. .griff or GTFO, and this is from Annoying Sparkling Wasps newsletters for $2.
Oh, the Sparkling Wasp is a great one. Someone made a joke on one of my streams that like they're actually only bees if they're from like
otherwise they're sparkling
region of France. Otherwise they're just sparkling wasps. Like yes, thank you.
That is a good joke. I approve of that joke. That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I talked about bees a lot with the baby today. That was
Can I share a really fun parenting story that I hope everybody will appreciate? Is that a few weeks ago we went to a kind of a big park in New Jersey has a rose garden, and kids, my two kids, they're 3 and 6, and bees, a little skittish around bees because but I've also shown them the flies that are pretending to be bees that like, you see, that's a fly, that one's not actually gonna. And so at this garden, it was all flowers around, and I'm like all up in the flowers with my phone taking pictures of things. And one of the things I was taking a picture of was bees, because when the bees are just doing their thing, they don't care about you. You could be all up in their face and they just don't care. So I got these amazing close-up pictures of bees, and like they're just like buzzing all around you, and they just do not see you at all because they're flowers. And it's just like being just like having a dozen bees just buzzing around you and knowing that like they don't care, it's fine, is just a super cool thing. And also really impresses your kids who are like, Daddy, bees. And it's like, it's fine, you could just come over and they won't bother you. Bees are cool. Bees are your friends.
Yeah. Actually, we had a migrating hive of bee on the tree outside my front door not that long, like I think about a year and a half ago. I just walked outside one day, or one of us did, and suddenly there's an entire hive worth of bees just hanging on the tree, and we're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we won't go out this door for a little while until they buzz off, literally.
If it's near the hive, then they will not be buds. Then they will not be friends. Then you have to give them space. Yeah.
Earlier this week, we were in New York City as like a little quick trip. And so I took baby girl to Central Park. We had the day, we were just gonna go explore, right? First of all, of course, her favorite part of the whole trip was like we went to a playground and there were swings in Central Park.
Yeah,
awesome.
She's not even 2, right? So she was like, swing. But what was so funny is she likes to point out birds, right? Like at home, we'll sit in our backyard and she'll point out bird, right? So we get to Central Park and we see pigeons and she's just losing her mind with excitement. Bird, bird, bird. And we're making all of the New Yorkers laugh hysterically and know that we are not from here.
Not from New York, yeah.
But she pointed out every bird, every dog, and every baby, and we had a great time.
Nice. I mean, the pigeons are basically domesticated at this point. It's and like by me, we have deer that are basically domesticated. It's hilarious. All right, Rashina, thank you for $1.99. Bees are the bee's knees. Yes, they are.
Agreed.
There you go.
This stream sponsored by Rashina.
Seriously, my goodness. All right, Jordan, your time has come. It is your moment in the sun. Fix everything about young Earth creationism. You have 8 minutes. Go.
Okay, so I used to be a young Earth creationist back in the day. People may not know that. And so I think, looking back now, I think that one of the problems with young Earth creationism as a movement is it has this kind of inferiority complex with science. It's not science, but it likes to pretend to be, right?
Yeah.
And so they're constantly trying to act like they're science, right? But they won't go all the way, right?
It's a bad cosplay.
Right. And so I think that the way that you save young Earth creationism, or at least you make it more consistent, is by being bold. Okay, you need to lean in, but you need to put all of your problems into one confined space. Because if you have to constantly, they're hesitant to invoke miracles because they want to pretend to be science, right? Mm-hmm. I think the problem is not invoking miracles per se, because they'll say, "Oh, the fountain's deep, that was miraculous. The resurrection, that was miraculous, right?" But the spreading out of miracles, it's hard to maybe get someone to believe your science or whatever to swallow it if you have like 1,000 miracles you need to swallow. But if you just got one big one, then it's okay, right? So I think that the way that you solve young Earth creationism is by, first of all, reading the Bible in its in a more accurate translation, accepting the poetry, except it's not poetry, it's literal, and then kind of leveraging that. So Genesis 1, when actually translated correctly, is not in the beginning God created. It's when God began to create the heavens and the earth were in complete chaos. Basically, it's a picture of God like being over these waters, right? And then God separates the waters, and then later when he's pissed off, that's why the flood is water, right? When he brings it in, it's very poetic and whatever, okay? So take that as literal, and then flip over to Genesis 6. God, when he's speaking to Noah and he says, "Hey, things are bad," he says, "I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with the violence because of them. Now I am going to destroy them," the people, "along with the earth." He's going to destroy everything. Okay? And so here's what you do is you say, okay, the earth at the flood, it wasn't just a water coming in. That was what Noah reported. That's what he wrote down.
It's on the ground reporting.
Right. Because that's what he saw, right?
But
so you're getting an eyewitness account. You're getting the rain, the waters coming in, just like the whole poetic thing. But in actuality, God is bigger than that. And so what God is doing is he's basically reshaping the earth from the ground up. And so
Literally.
the world before pre-flood, I mean, it might physically be the same matter, it might occupy the same place in space-time, but it is not the same earth as we currently occupy. And so what he did was he reshaped the earth to portray this evil fallen world that we are now entering, right? We were in the world of the Garden of Eden. It was still kind of perfect, but humans kept screwing up. And so now we reshaped it to be this fallen, decayed world that's like decrepit and been around forever. Just like you might have had a palace in the distant past, but then you fast forward in the video game, it's all like broken down and stuff. Same thing, same idea.
Got
Okay.
it.
And then,
Okay.
and then you just say, okay. And so he basically fast forwarded time of this decay and just put it all in place. Boom, end of flood. Now from then on, things ran exactly the way things are designed with current physics, whatever. It's kind of similar to Maddie's idea,
Dovetails,
except extended a little bit.
It's
right?
not just physics;
So
it's everything.
it's everything,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And so, and that can
I'm here
explain
for it.
all kinds of stuff. Why did people live for hundreds of years pre-flood? It literally
it was
wasn't this
different.
Earth.
That was
literally
a
wasn't this
grandfather
Earth.
clause from the previous patch.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say this almost sounds like the Zachariah Sitchin thing, right? Where we have like this whole cosmic drama going on, and Earth used to be over here, and now it's over here, and all the planets were different.
And so now this solves all their problems because suddenly every prediction of science just becomes a prediction of young Earth creationism.
Yeah.
And they can say, oh, well, the problem is you're just coming from a faulty beginning point, right?
Okay.
You're not accepting the break. Now, the counter argument to this, this is kind of globally known with these sort of ideas, is the Omphalos hypothesis, last Thursdayism. Yes, things look like they were 4 billion years old, but in fact they were created last Thursday. You can't prove it wasn't, right? So this was a place that I kind of had a fallback position when I was a YEC, but what kept me from going here was that it makes God into a liar, right? Because he's putting down evidence that's wrong. But there is an escape hatch. And the escape hatch is if you are willing to lean on the Bible as the word of God. It would be like, because he's giving you, here's what happened. So it's kind of like if an author or a painter made a painting and made it like artificially aged or something, but then he put the date that he painted it on there. He's not lying. It looks aged, but then he's like, yeah, I know how it looks.
Right. It's the difference between like a forgery and a reproduction, right? Like if I make a reproduction of an ancient artifact, but I'm open about that, I'm not lying. Whereas if I make a forgery of the ancient artifact, now I am.
Right.
Okay.
And so exactly. So God is like, okay, yes, I made the earth look old. I sorted the fossils, however, like you could do some exegesis to figure that out, right?
But I'm telling you right here.
But I'm telling you right
or
here's
some
a book that's
eisegesis,
telling
you know.
Yeah. Just a little bit of exegesis, just a little bit. So I'm giving you a book that gives you all of the facts if you just read it right. So it's not, I'm not lying, I'm telling you the truth.
And can I just see if I understand this correctly? So you're saying that the flood, right, was not just you have this planet called Earth with people and other living things on it, and we covered it in water, which we know is impossible, but go with it. We covered it in water, and then we kind of did a hard reset, and now everything gets off the ark, and we go from there. That's not what the flood was. That's what Noah reported, because he was on the ground, and that's all he could perceive it. But what it actually was a reversion to a pre-day one of creation, where it was just water, and God was like, take two, and these dudes in the ark are gonna persist from take one.
What's actually really interesting is I'm going to fully step into like miles away from my field here, and so you should like call somebody who studies ancient.
No, Maddie, we're doing young Earth creationism. That means that the farther afield you are from your area of expertise, the better.
That makes you better.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about ancient Near Eastern cultures for a minute. But I, Maddie, am recalling like my high school Bible class. So give me a minute to like, that was half a minute ago. But we talked in that class a lot about the same story in the Bible being told over and over and over and over, right? And we talked about like in Genesis 1, you have the story of creation, right? But then in Genesis, like, help me out, 2, you have another story of creation,
Yes.
right?
Well, I
And
mean,
then-
the Genesis 1 account goes into like the first tiniest little bit of Genesis 2, but yeah, Genesis 2 contains the second account.
And then we get to Noah, and it's another creation story, right? Because fundamentally, the story of Noah is a second creation story, right? There is water covering everything, right? Because that's what we see in Genesis 1.
Sorry,
right?
I just have to. Sorry, I just.
Amazing.
Sparkling truth.
Amazing.
It's only lying if it's in Genesis 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's sparkling truth.
Sparkling
It has to
truth.
come from the lying region of France.
It has to
Yeah.
come from the line
Yeah.
region.
The Lyon region,
Yeah. Lyon.
which is a real region in France, by the way.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt your flow, Maddie, but I had to.
But there's a motif here that is like reoccurring throughout the Bible, but also in other ancient Near Eastern cultures, right? Of the pre-human civilization, right? Untamed and sort of like natural chaotic state of existence of the universe is like the deep waters, right? It's this place of like chaos, but also a place of potential.
Yeah.
It's got a
and
very
it is-
Greek pantheon, pre-Olympian feel to it.
Yeah, right. And it is out of this again, and this is in like original, like if you really, really, really translate the Genesis 1 poem, right? These are the vibes. This is what it's giving. Of this primordial ocean, right? Of chaos and potential. And God, Yahweh, comes in and brings order to that chaos, right? Separates the waters above from the waters, separates light from dark, separates the waters above from the waters below, separates the land from the ocean, and then fills those things that he separated, right? Fills the, like, because then we get sun, moon, and stars, which fills the thing that we separated on day 1. It's a really lovely symmetric poem, right? And then in Noah, you get that again, though, right? In the story of Noah, because you get like you get a return, everything is returned to this chaotic ocean, chaotic primordial place of chaos and death and scary and potential, and you need like a divine being to come in and bring order to that chaos, right? And then to some degree, that ability to bring order to chaos is given to man, right? That's like day 7 theology, which is very common in both Christianity and Judaism, of God rests on the 7th day of creation, not because he is tired, but because he has made man in his image to take on the job of taming chaos, right? Bringing order to the natural world.
Also, I gotta say, because God brings order to chaos, that also makes the Borg Queen God.
That does also make the Borg Queen God. Absolutely. We will explore the theological ramifications of that another day.
I'm going to say, not the venue, but appreciate the contribution.
Yeah, not the venue.
We're opening up. Look,
So-
we said this at the top. We're going to solve problems. We're not promising to not create new problems.
Well,
What we're doing is solving problems.
And like, but this like motif of, right, and then like Noah and his family, right, are brought out of the chaos of the flood into the order of the new creation, right? And this is then again reflected in the Jesus story, right, of new heaven and new earth, right? Right, that motif of new creation, right? So listen, I'm just saying, YEC is like, there's a lot of theology in this you can lean into. Like you got some meat here to go with. That's going to be a lot easier to make a meal out of.
You know,
Yeah.
there's actually a really important point in there that I think gets lost in all of this, and that is that the modern young earth creation movement comes out of a very specific type of specifically North American Christianity that is very unique relative to the kind of breadth of Christianity that you find around the world. And if you utilized some of those other traditions, young Earth creationists would have an easier time of it. But because they don't accept those other things, it actually ends up theologically putting them in a box that's very hard to defend in other contexts.
Imagine
it's a very young and very, like, it's a young box.
Ironically.
Right? Ironically.
Imagine you can use it the whole 2,000 years of Christian history and pull from all of it if you wanted to.
And
you could.
Not just the last 80 or 90 years or so, with a few cherry-picked quotes from, like, Augustine.
It's sad, too, because, like I said, I was a young Earth creationist, so I was very much, like, the Bible's literally true and, like, reading it. And when you read it that way, you miss so much that, like the poetry and the artistry of the writing, it's like a way more fulfilling, interesting story if you just like let it be a book, you know. But when I was thinking about this hypothesis earlier, I was thinking about like what's the point of young Earth creationism, and it is not, at least by the people who are like running it, it is not to like explain physics and to make this whole scientific thing. That's not the point. The point is to keep people who are in the faith and to stop them from asking questions. That's the point.
And can I add one more thing to that, Jordan? One more thing to that, Jordan. The point is also Christian nationalism.
Well, yeah.
Like it is part of the broader right-wing Christian nationalist political project.
You have to get them to stop asking questions in order to embrace all these other things.
In the
Although I will say, I don't think that the Venn diagram between young Earth creationists and Christian nationalists is exactly a circle.
No, especially your rank and file.
You do find non-young Earth creationists who are Christian nationalists. And look, I know some non-Christian nationalists who either are or were young Earth creationists.
It's
not a circle. It's close to a circle, but it's not exactly.
I think almost a circle.
The people at the top, like your AIGs, those sort of people, that's the people really pushing that agenda. And then it hasn't necessarily filtered to everyone. Like when I was a young Earth creationist, I was not a Christian nationalist, nor was anybody really, my church wasn't really into that. But it would not be hard to shove our congregation that way with the right. Right. So what this does, this hypothesis does by just kind of
just nerds in the stream, in the chat, just giant thank you. I appreciate every one of you.
So it embraces the power and glory of God, right? And stops pretending to be something it's not, and it's focusing on the most important thing. And if you can make it so that any observation they might ever run into elsewhere, you can say, that fits our model, and here's exactly how it fits without any kind of mashing or anything. I think that might lead to a better insulation, or at least hypothetically could. Which is really the point. So really, I hope they don't do this, because I would like.
Well, here's the thing. And I thought about that for this stream, because I'm like, what if we actually like give them something that's useful? And here's the thing: AIG or randos on YouTube would never be like, you know who gave us an answer that we can actually use? Those 4 trolls in that stream from last month. We're gonna take their answer. And like. They can't just be like, and there's other stuff like this. Like there's Dr. Josh Swamidas has the time to most recent 4 ancestors math. Instead of time to most recent common ancestors, time to most recent 4 ancestors for
the sons of Noah.
For the sons of Noah, right?
And or I guess also their wives.
And they're right, because it's the wives plus Noah is the 4 people you have to account for. And like you can do the coalescence math for that. But you know what? Because he proposed that math and is like, hey, here's the deal. And he's I'm not sure exactly, theistic evolutionist, I think is probably I think it's probably the correct, but Dr. Josh, if you happen to see this and you want to correct me, let me know. But like young Earth creationists cannot take that and be like, you know what, this dude is right, we should be using that math, even though they totally should, because you know what solves that problem for them? Time to most recent 4 ancestors plus created polyploidy actually solves their human diversity problem. But they can't take that, because you know who came up with those ideas? One, Dr. Josh Swamidas, who according to Young Earth Creationists is a heretic, and 2, some random dude on Reddit. Or actually, The other place that you get created polyploidy is actually Emery Moyna, actually with plants, wrote about it like years ago. Is the other one. That's Harry F. Sanders III for people who don't know that whole backstory. But like
the creationist most likely to go shoot up a public venue.
Definitely up there. He's definitely a contender. If he's not the one, he's definitely in there.
Yeah. Let's go dark really fast. Anyway.
What I was going to say that is not
Harry
dark.
F. Sanders is a dark person. Have you seen any of his Rumble content?
I have downloaded his Rumble content before he nuked his Rumble channel after he nuked his YouTube channel. So
yeah,
yes.
it's
dark AF. Yes.
Yeah.
But so kind of zooming out though, we've been trying to fix young earth creationism, but if I'm an atheist, so I don't have a dog in this particular fight, I guess. But if I were Christianity has, to a small extent, a young earth creationist problem. Young earth creationism isn't good for anybody because not only does young earth creationism not fit science, but it's also so brittle because they're constantly telling, I was told all the time, if Genesis is wrong in any to the tiniest degree, Christianity is false.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. And I'm not the only one who's taught that. And so when I eventually ran, it's like, oh wow, they're wrong about an awful lot. If I had been raised in a more progressive, reasonable church, it's conceivable at least I might not be an atheist. I don't know, but I am sure it's a higher probability than the way I was raised.
This is the Ken Ham strategy of my way or the highway. And Jordan, it goes to the exact thing you said a few minutes ago of it's about keeping our people in the bubble. It's almost like they've given up at the highest levels. If you look at AIG, they're not really trying to convince people who have like had a college science class that young earth creationism is correct. They're really playing defense. It's a rear guard action to keep the people they have in the bubble. And the problem with that is you said the exact right word. The word is brittle, because if there's one thing, and it doesn't matter if it's human evolution, if it's the Lenski long-term evolution experiment, if it's radiometric decay, if it's the Oklo reactors, if there's one thing that puts a hole in that bubble, then if everything is based on a literalist, Ken Ham version of Genesis 1, then that's the end, not just for your young earth mindset.
Yeah.
That's the end for all of Christianity in that person's mind. It really is a very fragile situation. Well, and, I really do think it's a self-defeating strategy, but it's what they have going right now. It's this defensive kind of approach.
It's one of the reasons why I repeatedly in my videos point out, like, this isn't the only way to do Christianity. It's just the way these people have chosen to do Christianity. There are other versions of Christianity out there where you don't have to do this.
Yeah. I like to put, Yep. I like to point this out. I mean, Maddie. Hello. Maddie is here. Last week I had one of my guests was Dr. Joel Duff. If you look at Christianity writ large, most Christians do not require, as a matter of faith, a young earth. If you look at most biologists, most are not Christian. I think it's been documented that most biologists are not Christians, but there are a huge number of biologists who are Christians, the vast majority of whom accept evolution, accept the conventional age of Earth, like all of these things. It's not incompatible with Christianity. And one thing we collectively want to accomplish here, not just with like this chat, but I'm going to take the liberty of speaking for all of us here. But like our goal is not to deconvert people, broadly speaking. Our goal is to promote like good, accurate science and ways of critically thinking.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm perfectly happy for people to be Christians, not be Christians, change, not change. Whatever you want, I don't care. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Right. The dangerous thing, right, about young earth creationism is fundamentally the science denialism that comes with it.
Yes.
So like there's part of me that like, Jordan, I love your answer here because you can embrace that and fully reject science denialism. Right? Like you can like, oh, okay, great. So the way that we understand viruses to work now is how they work now.
Right.
Right. And you can still like hold if you need that like literal faith. Like for me, like that's not a thing that I need. And I say this on almost every stream I'm on, especially with Dapper, is that the majority of scientists worldwide are people of faith. right? Like they hold on
Yeah.
to one faith or another. I think technically the majority out of that is Christianity because
Yeah.
globally that's true.
Right.
But like
That's how wealth distribution works. Yeah.
yeah, that's how that
Yeah.
works, right? So the majority of scientists, right, who study these things, are not atheists. The majority of scientists have a faith belief, right? And separately, the majority of Christians are not young Earth creationists, right? So the vast majority of Christians, like, not embracing science nihilism, right? And these two things are not incompatible. And I will definitely say that for me, like the thing that, so I was not raised young Earth creationist. I was kind of raised, I like to say I was raised cult adjacent. Right? Like around a lot of people who were like young Earth creationists.
You make a really cool D&D one-shot though.
You did, yeah.
To work through some of that childhood trauma.
Little childhood trauma in that. It's fine, don't worry about it. I wrote a D&D campaign about it. It's fine, don't worry about it.
Hey, it has some of my art in it and some of Chesh's art in it. Go check it out. It's on, where is it?
Drive-through RPG.
Drive-through RPG. Go check it out, everybody. What's it called?
Saw
Clerics.
Check that out.
Yeah. Did definitely have a church camp experience that was fully a recruiting tool for a cult. But what I would say is coming out of a very, guys, I'm born and raised in Oklahoma. I live here now. It's the reddest state in the union, right? And so the faith that I have now is very different than that what I was just raised with. And the thing that has allowed me to hold on to my faith, right, is for it to not be brittle, for it to be flexible, and for it to lean on like the 2,000-year global history of Christianity, right? That the way I was raised is in fact a very narrow view. And there's a lot of there's some of how I was raised that I hold on to and some that I have let go of, right? There's things I embrace from other traditions. There's things I embrace outside of Christianity, right? And so the idea of like, if your faith is so brittle, right, brittle and rigid that it can't bend with new information, that you cannot be filled with awe, right, and wonder when you I love hanging out with Dr. Dan and Erica because I learn all about human evolution and stuff that I never studied because I majored in math, right? And every time I learn something new, I get so excited, and again, I'm filled with this sense of wonder and awe, and I feel so bad for people who are robbed of that, And that sense of wonder and awe is not from the devil.
I think it would be hard to top that as a kind of a closing message here. So I want to, Maddie, do you have anything else you want to say before we kind of wrap this up? Because we did solve young Earth creationism,
all of it.
Yeah.
So
I like Jordan's answer a lot.
Ken Ham, Rob Carter, Standing for Truth. Help yourselves. Okay,
Yeah.
That's
if you want to say thank you, I have a Patreon.
Yeah, our appearance fees are so low.
So much lower than say Stephen Meyer.
Yeah.
Okay. So Maddie, thank you for that. That was a fantastic way to just kind of put a bow on all this. Jordan, any kind of wrap up thoughts from you? Anything at all?
Nope. I
Other
co-sign
than
everything Maddie said. There's nothing wrong with being religious. It's a perfectly reasonable way to live, even if that's not me. But there is a lot of things wrong with denying science because that ends up killing people, and that's not cool. So don't do that.
I co-sign that. Dapper, last thoughts.
My last thoughts are just stop it. Get some help. Just stop.
Get some help.
Man, I got one more super chat from Mark Reed here. Mark, thank you. I always appreciate your contributions. So just support for all of the panel. Amazing patience and science communication. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. My final thoughts basically are I just want to co-sign everything everybody just said, basically. All of the stuff from Maddie, plus the YEC, who cares? It's fun. We can joke about it, but the actual anti-science stuff kills people. That's a problem. And then stop it. Just stop it. Okay. And then the last thing I want to say is just I didn't do this at the top because, once again, Dr. Dan is a professional. So I didn't do this when everyone else was doing it at the top. But next week on my channel, I have what may or may not be, if history is any indication, it won't be, but we'll see, the final installment in the Discovery Institute saga, because they can't stop, and they messed up this week. And I say they because they have written some things. The most recent one didn't even have a byline. It was just from Evolution News. And let me tell you, they messed up. And I don't think they realize how they messed up, but Discovery Institute messed up. And if you want to see how, it's kind of funny. So come check it out on my channel next Wednesday. It's going to be pre-recorded, so you don't have to worry about it being an hour late because I'm stuck in a traffic jam. That's going to be next week, and I'm really excited for it. And Discovery Institute, because I know you watch everything I do, you've been warned. Just wait, you all messed up. You'll see. And that's where we're going to leave it, everybody. So I want to thank everybody for being here. My goodness, you all were so generous with the super chats. I really appreciate that. There were over 100 of you here for like most of this. I can't believe that's the case. Yeah. So thank you to Maddie, thank you to Dr. Maddie and Jordan and Dapper Dinosaur. I'm going to, once we get off the air, I'm going to link all their stuff in the description real fast so that you all can go and sub to their channels. Apparently everyone who watches Dapper stuff is already here. So but for the other two, please sub to Science Side Up and Reason to Doubt. And so as always, don't get fooled. And remember, really important because it is 2024, vote for Joe Biden. Just straight up, vote for Joe Biden. You've got two options. Vote for Joe Biden. Have a good night, everybody.